This is the Seahawkers podcast, live post-game reaction show as our Seahawks have defeated the Minnesota Vikings 26-0. We get a shutout at them. We get an extremely good defensive performance, and we got just enough offensive points to say that the offense did something as well. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Nothing like a big shutout, 26-0. Maybe one of the most underwhelming offensive performances in a dominant victory for sure. But with that said, we'll get to the offense because the story of the day today is defense. And you can't spell defense, Brandon, without DeMarcus Lawrence. Holy crap. What a game out of that dude.
DeMarcus Lawrence, Ernest Jones with 2 interceptions on the day. The defensive line getting after Brosmer. Gosh, how do we – there was a Reek Woolen pick. There was a Kobe Bryant pick. We talked about it a little bit on the Saturday night show when we were talking about how many sacks we might see from the defense. And I might, just toot my own horn here. I think I said that we might not get more than 4 sacks, but that combination with the interceptions would get us to the 5+ category, and we nailed it.
We nailed it. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that I had selected that middle category, and they had 4 sacks. So there you go. Yeah, so, if you want to pat yourself on the back, you can. I'm
patting you on the back, too. Why does this have to be about you all of a sudden?
It always is. It's always about me. But really what it should be about is the Seattle defense. My goodness, Mike McDonald did exactly what you would think that you would do to a undrafted free agent rookie quarterback coming in with an offense that's been struggling in an offensive line that was injured in a rough spot. And Brosmer was overwhelmed from the jump.
We've got Ryan 911 coming in with our live executive producer donation, $9.99 super chat, saying, "Shutout, let's go Hawks." Man, it's nice to get the shutout. Nice to see the defense show up in a way. And man, they had a couple opportunities too where the Vikings were down inside the red zone, looked like they had the potential to put up points, and a couple of different times they come away with turnovers, and one of those was Reek Woolen, and another one was DeMarcus Lawrence in the backfield, and Brosmer just trying to get rid of the football to make something happen, and right into the arms of Ernest Jones, and he takes it for a pick 6. And it was that moment, too, where you're thinking, okay, maybe this shutout is in play.
Absolutely. I mean, we have the fumble offensively down in our own red zone. In the defense, once again, and even in the Rams game where we had some turnovers deep, the defense had stood up and really performed well in those moments, those quick change moments. And I know it's something they practice a lot. It's something that Mike talks about quite a bit. And you saw it show up there. They just started pushing the Vikings back, and then DeMarcus having the great play, giving Brosmer a little spin around there by holding him on the arm and setting up the INT for Ernest Jones, and to take a situation in where you think you're giving up points here and turn it into a pick 6. Like that's the defense picking up for the offense, maybe not having their best day. And it's just, it's a joy to watch. Mike made the picture difficult for Brosmer all day, and really the majority of their rush yards came towards the end of the game with Jordan Mason on that last drive or so. Otherwise, they bottled all that up the entire time. And it just, I mean, I know I'm pretty sure we put flawless on the card up there. I mean, if you want on the thumbnail, I'll tell you what, that's a great way to describe this defense today.
Yeah, the only blemish maybe came with Reek, turning the ball back over on his 1 interception. But other than that, it was a very nice day by the defense. Very thankful for Gambling Goat tuning in live and putting in a $5 super chat. Poor Brosmer. Our defense just bullied him all day. Go Hawks. You do feel bad for the Rook a little bit, but this is what a dominant defense is supposed to do to a rookie quarterback. And whether it was a rookie quarterback or whether J.J. McCarthy ended up trotting out there too, I would have expected at least something similar. Now, maybe he doesn't have that silly interception, but we've seen other quarterbacks just trying to make plays too, and that's all Brosmer was trying to do in that situation. It's fun to watch our defense just bully somebody and get away with it.
They really did, and the Vikings had no answers all day. And I think one of my favorite things about this season's Seattle Seahawks is watching Mike McDonald and this defense get up every week, and they never play down to their competition. We just haven't seen that big letdown game out of the defense. They have been balling each and every week, ready to go. And they cranked it up against this undermanned Vikings offense for sure. I mean, geez, look at the stats there, Brandon. My goodness.
Yeah, Ernest Jones, 7 tackles on the day, the 2 interceptions. He's got to have his hat in the ring for Player of the Week for sure on the defensive side. And then when you look at the stats there for the Vikings, and you got Brosmer 19 to 30. It didn't feel like he completed 19 passes, but I guess he completed 23 if you count the ones that went to our Seahawks. Jordan Mason, only 6 rushing attempts, 47 yards, so they completely got away from the run early. Aaron Jones, 6 carries, only 3 yards, and they were 0 for 2 on their 4th down conversions, 2 for 10 on 3rd down conversions. Yeah, just 3.2 yards per gain for total net yards. A very solid day by the defense there.
Oh, my goodness. It's smothering, absolutely smothering. And then it all results in the big 0 there. And, really, it starts and stops with the front 4 in this game. I mean, you think about the way that Leo and Murphy and D-Law and everybody, Nuosu, all did what they did today. And it was cool because Mike didn't really have to do anything all that special for stopping this Minnesota Vikings offense, despite there still being some weapons out there on the field. I mean, Justin Jefferson's a real deal, number 1 receiver in this league. And they just kind of rolled the ball out and said, this is what we do. We rush 4, we stand nickel, and good luck. And that was exactly how I thought it would go when I've been talking about this game all week and, going on the Let's School pod and all that. It just felt like that this could be a very dominant day for this defense.
Yeah, DJ Nichols saying that some of the plays Mike was calling made me think he might be from the future. You probably made Vikings fans feel like you were from the future with your performance on the Let's School podcast. And we've got Yokai Hawk coming in with 2,600 yen for the 26-0 donation. Yokai Hawk says, "Nuff said." And also, Godzilla Hawk coming in for the shutout, $26 super chat. And a Lambs loss. We haven't talked about this, Adam. How about those Carolina Panthers taking down the Rams for us earlier today? We get the Rams losing. We get the Seahawks winning. This feels like a great weekend.
Oh, it's a perfect football weekend other than the Niners sneaking one out against the Browns there. But with that said, I would never have predicted that the Panthers could get the victory there with the Rams. I only checked in on that game a couple times for some brief stints there. And they just kept it close all day. And it looked like they were able to run the ball a little bit. So just big hats off to Dave Canales down there. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. And, yeah, go Panthers for today. That was great.
Shout out to Shin Yuta coming in saying, born and raised in Seattle, but living in Minnesota. Dad became a Vikings fan after we moved here, and it's his birthday. Well, happy birthday, Dad. Got a bit awkward, but go Hawks.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all make poor life choices at some point, and that was clearly one for your dad there, especially on a day like today. But, yeah, it deepens the frustration, I think, of the Minnesota fan base at this point, because I think a lot of folks really were like, hey, we saw Brosmer in preseason, and honestly, he looked better than JJ, and so he can keep us on schedule. He can do the basic quarterback things. But I wouldn't judge Brosmer so much off of this game. This is in tough. Seattle against this defense, and then you get down early. Like, good luck, man. Offensive line's all banged up. We'll see what he does going down the line here.
Reyes USMC 9 coming in with a $4.99 super chat. What's with Mike not pulling the trigger on 4th and 1s and taking the 3 points rather than the barn burner? There was one moment where they lined up for the field goal and ended up then going for it late in the game and early on taking the points. I think early on, just again, not with that idea of not necessarily wanting to chase points and getting to 19. Like, once you were in the position to get to 19, you knew that they weren't scoring 3 more touchdowns.
That's exactly it. I love the calls on each and every one of those. I liked them in real time. I know that I probably tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side with some of the fourth down calls than a lot of the NFL public, for sure. But with that said, I think a lot of these coaches are eschewing these really critical points in a style of game that really called for just take your three. Let your defense go out there and dominate. This was going to be a low-scoring affair out of the Vikings the entire time. So take your free 3 points. Take it and move on. And I love that they did that on the first two. And then I also agreed on going forward on that last 4th and 1 because, I mean, even a blind squirrel finds it out once in a while. And Greg Olsen was like, yeah, like, let's get the offense a little confidence and all that. And so they went for it there. They end up scoring on the Charbonnet run. In each and every call from Mike there in regards to situational football with the type of game that you're in and you're playing, we're perfect. Dead on.
Gambling Goat, a member for 4 months, coming in saying, yeah, Rams lost one step closer to the number 1 seed, and the Chicago Bears have the number 1 seed right now. So had to send a text to our buddy EJ Snyder on his Bears. Pretty up at the top of the conference right now.
Yeah, well, they've been through some bad times for, I don't know, 25 years or so. So if they could have like a week 12, little nice feeling here, good for them, I guess. But it doesn't feel as good as the Seahawks now moving on to 9-3 and tied for the division lead. I guess with the tiebreaker at the Rams, we'd still be second since we lost the game to them. But or I don't know, maybe the division record, whatever it is. But right there, I'm feeling good about this team after this week, especially defensively. I feel like we're 12 minutes into this podcast. We've been putting off talking about the offense.
Wait. Yeah. We got Yokai Hawk up on the screen saying, I pity the fool on the receiving end of the Drake. We haven't yet said Drake Thomas's name, and there were a couple big tackles by Drake where he put in some licks. I'm surprised every week at the amount of physical presence that Drake Thomas has on the defense. And I don't know why I should be. I feel like I should be used to it by now, but I'm not.
It's interesting to see because of his stature, right?
I love the nickname.
Drake Thomas. Yeah, I like it. That tracks there. But the thing that makes it so that he is so physical is what happens just before the snap. He sees it so fast and, as Mike puts it, pulls the pin and just lets it rip. And it's because of that, he's playing about a half a step ahead of almost everybody else on the field that allows him to get downhill, even with a bit smaller frame. And so when he does make contact with the back in the backfield, it's felt in a fantastic game out of him. In just really the entire defense as a whole. And I could go back and laud the front four yet again because I'm in awe watching these guys work together, man. Like they're absolutely dominant. There's no way this isn't the best defense in the NFL. There's just not.
Yeah, you're right. There's no way. And we got to see it today. As we move on to the offense, we could start with Chewy 938, who has a positive and a little bit of a negative, says, love the commitment to the run today despite the offensive struggles. Also, can Anthony Bradford never come back on the field? That would be cool.
All right, so I was trying to get to 14 minutes before we had to talk about the offense because it was a little brutal today. It wasn't the best showing that we've seen. Also give credit to Brian Flores and that defense and the style that they play. It's so aggressive. There's so many dudes on the line of scrimmage every single time. It does really make it difficult to set your protections and be sure you're right post-snap. And they really did. I'd say Flores really did outcoach Kubiak in the first half and made it tough on him. In the previous comment talked about a commitment to the run game. And I like that they got to that commitment in the second half eventually. Yeah. But in the first half, when you saw how much of a difficulty the Seahawks front was having in setting their protections and picking up the free runner, whichever direction he was coming from, then to get him out of that, screen him to death or run him to death. And it just felt like, although the run-pass ratio was about 50-50 at half, like that was a game maybe lean into the run a little bit more early.
Yeah, and thanks again to Godzero Hawk, who came in with $26 on the Super Chat. And thanks for Clinton to putting that back up on the screen. Yeah. So the other positive that I do take away with the offense, though, and Sam Darnold in particular, is that we didn't need a big Sam Darnold game. This goes back to some of our criticism against the Rams game, because if he goes out, yeah, okay, he finishes the day 14 of 26, 128 yards, but instead of 4 interceptions, he had 0 interceptions this week. So
Yeah, he had 0.
That when your defense is putting points up on the board, when you're getting in position, when your defense is getting you in good enough field position that you don't have to make a lot of yards, and you can kick field goals, like that's enough. And clearly it was enough because they get the shutout 26-0.
Well, that was my big criticism about the Rams game. It was just recognize the type of game that you're in. And today he did that. Now he still had a turnover. He fumbled. He had one that bounced off of AJ's hands. It was nearly picked. Not his fault. He did put one ball in jeopardy, throw it into triple coverage, booting out to his right, where you're just like, what are we doing? But he minimized those for today. And that's actually to be commended considering the amount of pressure that he was under all day, because whether it was, the interior, the tackles, or even the tight ends, when it came to picking up the extra rushers, or even if they were just bringing 4, but then dropped a bunch of dudes off the line of scrimmage, they were having a hard time getting the right protections for those dudes that were coming.
Yeah. The other thing that Nate's pointing out too, how many times did they tip a Sam Darnold pass? Where do you put the tipped passes? Like, what bucket do you put that in? Is that more of on defense because it takes the defense like being in that mindset of getting your hands up at just the right moment to tip those passes? Because as a quarterback, I don't think that you're necessarily looking. If you think just about how your vision works, like as a quarterback, you're looking downfield at the receiver and where you're throwing the ball, not so much the close up dudes who have their hands up. So I don't know if I put it as much on Sam about throwing it into the hands of defensive linemen. It gets frustrating for sure. Where do you sit on that?
First off, I would say tip of the cap to Brian Flores and his coaching. It's great coaching to teach your guys, hey, you aren't going to get to the quarterback on this rush. Okay, well, then be watching the quarterback and time that up and get your hands in the air, because 95 times out of 100 as a quarterback, when you're throwing from the pocket, you're not throwing the ball with a trajectory that would go over top of an outstretched hand that's raised up over top of the offensive lineman. You're throwing it just, over their heads by maybe half yard, a full yard. And so that was one of those things where I don't blame Sam Darnold. In fact, I think a lot of quarterbacks get killed for batted passes that honestly aren't really their thing. Thirdly, like if you want to put blame on any Seahawks personnel, which, I think it'd be tough to do, but hey, you got to engage those hands as offensive linemen or tight ends or whoever's blocking to keep them busy as the ball sails over their head so they can't get their hands up. But even still, if they're paying attention, they can get a hand up, block a ball. They happen to make contact every time, which, again, frustrating. But one of those things that, if I'm a defensive coordinator moving forward, like if I'm Indy's defensive coordinator, I'm saying we're going to muddy the line of scrimmage every single snap. And we're going to make sure our guys get our hands up on every pass attempt when they're rushing the quarterback. It's going to be something you'll see more of.
Yeah, especially if the O-linemen aren't getting into those defensive players. And there are ways for the defense or for the offensive linemen to, like you said, engage them so they aren't getting their hands up at just those moments. So moving on to the rushing game, we had Kenneth Walker, 13 carries, 56 yards. We had Zach Charbonnet, 14 carries, 52 yards. At the moment of Charbonnet's touchdown, because that was, I believe, a 17-yard run, I think he had 13 carries, around 31 yards, and I felt like Charbs was getting stuffed a lot. Although, I mean, K9 was just the way their defense was, that they were stuffing a lot of the runs all day.
Were they?
Well, I felt like with the Charbs runs in particular.
Yeah.
I thought K9 was picking up 4 or 5 just about every time, and that played out in his average. I guess I was surprised to see Charbonnet's average ending up where it was.
Yeah, he picked up in the end, when they started handing him the ball more and got a little bit more of a rhythm there, I was surprised that we saw as much Ken Walker in this game as we did. I thought for sure that this was going to be a heavy Charbonnet game and just having him in there for pass pro and that sort of thing. But Ken Walker looked great. I thought he put his foot in the ground and just followed blockers inside when they were between the tackles and did a good job of that and making sure to get that 2, 3, 4 yards instead of the 3-yard loss. And I thought he ran the ball excellent all day. You got the one explosive that was held up by a savvy Harrison Smith play by dragging him down by the wrists there. Right. But I thought K9 had a heck of a day, looked fantastic, and Charbonnet was there, and that's nice.
And as Clinton's saying in the chat, K9 took a soul. He did have the one run where he bounced outside, and number 2 for the Vikings, he got planted. So, yes.
Yeah.
Those are fun to see.
Yeah, no, those are fun, and that really does fire up a sideline too. That was something that Marshawn was so famous for, and part of that circle of toughness thing. And so, nice to see Ken get out there and thump somebody a little bit. That's really awesome. Have we shouted out Michael Knight's birthday here? Like, I see this in the comments. Like, we got to do that. Merry birthday to you, buddy.
Merry birthday to Michael Knight. Merry thank you for the donation to JetHawk5150 with a $5 super chat. For the shutout, a big thanks for that. Yeah, nice to see. One of our Discord members, of course, is Michael Knight, and a lot of folks wishing him happy birthday there and wishing him happy birthday in the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But offensively, it was a rugged day. They didn't do well when they got down closer to the end zone. Sam had a rough go in terms of catching a rhythm and all of that. But I think the number one takeaway out of this is that this was the first game JSN was actually shut down in terms of production. And I'm going to be very interested to watch all 22 to see what the coverage was like, because it's just one of those things that you can't really get from the TV copy.
Yeah, was it a JSN issue or was it a Clint Kubiak issue?
Or was it great coverage issue?
Right. Well, a big part of it could have been with the way that they were blitzing and him just not being that quick outlet type receiver, or they were covering him up as the quick outlet receiver. And so that'll be something to go back and watch for sure. But it also felt like, gosh, they weren't necessarily drawing up a whole lot of plays for him early on either. So, yeah, that if they did find a way, then congrats to them. But I have a feeling that there's not going to be very many defenses that will be able to put up a similar plan for slowing down Jackson Smith and Jigba.
This is a very unique defense in terms of their style, and you won't see one that does exactly what they do or do it the way that they do it in terms of the excellence in which that they bring week in, week out. Now, I was reading the comment there from Chewy regarding the blitzes and the stunts and Kubiak not being prepared, and that's one of those things that I'm not sure we're really going to know where to put the blame on this. Was it that Kubiak wasn't prepared? Was it that they had a plan that would have worked, but it wasn't executed very well? Or was it Olu not setting the protections right up front? Or was it Sam Darnold not setting the protections right up front and just being fooled a few times? We're never going to know the answer to that one. But
well, like you said, the first screen I felt like that we even threw was in the third quarter to AJ Barner. And it's like, well, where was that all day?
Yeah. No, this would be a game that you would want to screen them to death when you start to see the way that they're going to be aggressive against Sam. Because, I mean, B-Flow's seen him in practice a bunch, and he knew, look, we got to fluster Sam. You get him a little flustered, he's going to make some mistakes and keep us in this game. But Sam held it together. He understood what type of game he was in. Wasn't a great game. Wasn't a terrible game. I'd almost give him an incomplete because he just went out there and just kind of did the things, and he didn't screw it up. And that's basically what you're looking for out of your quarterback when your defense is flat out balling.
Felt like a solid C, but we can go incomplete too.
Yeah.
Can we discuss throwing a ton on first down and then running on 2nd and 10? Sometimes it worked, and a lot of times it didn't, because I feel like maybe the Vikings just knew that when it was 2nd and 10, then it was a run play after a failed pass play.
Sure. And more often than not, those run plays did pick up some positive yardage and make it closer to a third manageable. But with that said, not only throwing a lot on first down, which was kind of, I don't know, frustrating or puzzling, Really, to me, it was kind of the lack of play action. There just didn't seem to be a ton in this game. And I wonder if it's because of the long developing nature of play action stuff that Kubiak was a little nervous about, in just having guys, free runners coming at your quarterback and, getting behind the sticks and giving up a lot of sacks that way. But that's the more concerning development than just passing on first down, which again was puzzling. But the lack of play action is one of those things where I look at and I go, we want to get back to that.
Yeah, I before you even get to those, I feel like the lack of the ability to block in those situations was the most concerning part, because whether it was, we saw Bradford with quite a few misses. We even saw Canine with some misses, Charbonnet probably at least one, Olu, everybody on the offensive line. Shoot, even Cross got beat on the fumble by Sam. Now, Sam held it for a very long time, but he also fumbled it, and it was Cross that's a long time to hold your dude, but still that goes against Charles.
Yeah, it does. And look, that's going to be a tough front to go up against because of the way that they mix things up and just make things difficult on people and put them in tough spots. But I think the Bradford discussion's worth having. I think over time now that I've watched Bradford and trying to figure out, how come this guy can't just put it completely together? What is it? He just doesn't see it. He's maybe got the worst eyes of any guard in the entire NFL. And I think probably the best example of that was on the pulling block that he was supposed to make on the end on a running play down near the goal line. And he just
whiffs.
He was just hanging out around dudes' butts on the offensive line and just didn't even look at the dude who was coming free there, when that's your responsibility.
That's why you're the pulling guard.
Yeah. I don't understand.
And you can't even push him a little further upfield, or you try and shoulder bump him and then whiff. That was the wildest whiffy play that I've seen from Bradford. At least, I don't know, when he's on the offensive line and he lunges at the dude in front of him and the guy just steps out of the way. I don't know. That seems less offensive to me.
I guess, but he's certainly the weakest link. It's certainly a guy that the Vikings targeted all day. And again, expect to see more of that in the future, because it's a copycat league and other teams are going to want to try to look at the success that the Vikings had against the offense today. And they're gonna target him. So we'll see how it goes for the offensive line. It was a subpar day for them for sure. But when we look at the season and our data points are throughout the entire year, overall, this offensive line has been pretty good, even against some good defensive fronts. This may just be a week where it was a bad matchup between scheme and personnel.
Yeah, maybe Sam wasn't seeing it like you were saying with the protections. Maybe they were prepared for certain things, and maybe the Vikings were throwing out something new. Brian Flores, a very good defensive coach. We've got Jeremy Green, 632 in the chat, saying they just made it look like everyone was blitzing, and once the ball was snapped, we couldn't figure out who was dropping back quickly enough. And that's what good defensive coordinators do. That's what Mike McDonald does, and a lot of defensive coordinators around the league picking up on that. And that's going to be a test going forward if they're going to be able to, because once you get into the playoffs, you start playing more challenging defenses. It's you're going to have to make sure you have those answers.
Absolutely. And look, I think the Vikings do that more than any other team. That is the calling card of a B-flow defense, no doubt about it. And it flummoxed the offensive line and the protections all day. And that's why I was a little just perplexed as to why we didn't get to run the football a little bit more, a little bit earlier, even if it makes the imbalance of run to pass like a little heavy run. I think that's usually what you're going to want to do against those types of fronts, because you got guys that at the snap are going to be moving backwards immediately, then have to redirect and move forward. And I mean, by that point, you're on your third step as an offensive lineman and you're burying people. So that would have been the way that I went. It's not the way that Kubiak went. And I think this is a game you can look at from Kubiak in the kind of 2 weeks in a row here where you go, okay, like maybe not as clean as it was earlier.
Michael Knight coming in saying, all I want for Christmas is a home playoff game. Adam, can we get there over these next few weeks? The Carolina Panthers did us a favor, and now we've got to go out and take care of business ourselves down the stretch and got to get that win over the Rams. But before you get there, you have a game against the Indianapolis Colts. You got to take care of that too.
They do. What happened with the Colts today? I saw that it was a dogfight last time I looked up, but I didn't realize who had won or lost that game. But a good football team, and it's going to be a big challenge for next week. In the battle of it'll be the Reclamation Bowl, between Indiana Jones and Sam Darnold here. So it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, looking at some of the other games on the schedule. Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Browns. The Texans did end up beating the Colts 20-16. Okay. And then the Jets ended up beating the Atlanta Falcons, who the Falcons are next up on the schedule for our Seahawks.
Yeah, and that's a team that's obviously in some turmoil, and rightfully so. I can't stand that organization, but I see Marlon here in the comments as well with kind of a quick key to the game coming up here against the Colts. Stop Taylor, and Jones couldn't win it, and that really is the key to beating that football team. And I'm not saying that you're going to stop Jonathan Taylor in his tracks, even with this defense, but if you can contain him, and I think this defense is as well equipped to do it as any in the National Football League, then it's advantage Seahawks at that point, trying to get Indiana Jones to beat you.
Well, Michael Knight was requesting a home playoff game. Jeremy Green says, how about a couple
home
playoff games? No, it's okay to get greedy.
I mean, that's fine. And look, when we get to 10 wins, that I'm comfortable talking about, like how many playoff games at home or away that we get and all that stuff. A little bit of meat on that bone yet, but you get to that magic 11 win mark and you're in. And they've got how many games left here? Is it 5, 4? I don't know. I can never math these.
You got 4 games in December and then 1 in early January. And yes, we go for our 3rd straight month, Adam. Only 1 loss, and we did it by beating these Minnesota Vikings. I'd be very happy if we can escape the month of December with only 1 loss. How about 0 losses? I want to get greedy there too.
Look, I'm more apt to sit and think about that sort of thing at this point of the year and get greedy for December. But honestly, they go 2-3 down the stretch here, and you're looking at being in the playoffs. They've put themselves in an excellent position, and give Coach Mike and his staff just all the credit in the world. Give John a lot of credit, because this team has been a juggernaut this year. And you even heard Greg Olsen, who secretly hates the Seahawks on the inside, like trying to give him some props and be like, hey, I think this could easily be the best football team in all the league.
Well, he clearly was giving props to the defense throughout the game, and he does love Mike McDonald and his ability to put a defense together. So credit Greg Olsen for that. I definitely appreciate his ability to recognize good defense, especially when he's putting out ideas like, let's just max protect and run JJ straight down the field and try and bomb it to him. Like that was your Greg Olsen offensive coordinator moment of the game.
Yeah, and I kind of wish they had tried it. That would have been fun.
Maybe we could have seen a 5th interception.
We probably should have, to be honest. But again, give the defense all the credit. 4 picks today? 4? I mean,
4 picks, 4 sacks.
That's just outrageous. And come on, Reek. Like, if you're gonna try to run it back and be the hero, like, you got to hold that thing high and tight. I always get nervous after a defensive score or a turnover, and they start trying to return it, and it's all messy on the field, because these guys are just not used to carrying the football, and it feels like half the time it ends up getting punched back out, and then who knows? Hopefully you get the ball back or not. But yeah.
Well, and it wasn't even like one of the heavy dudes on the field. It was he ran into a light dude.
Yeah. Well, light dudes can punch the ball out too.
That's true. Yeah. And he does get credit for that pick, though. So he just gets credited for an interception and then a fumble.
Yeah, exactly. So 4 legit picks, including 1 for Reek, and good for him. That was a nice play, by the way, too, where I can't understand that route concept, because you have the 2 receivers running verts that are so close together that Reek was able to split the difference and cover them both. And he baited the hell out of Brosmer on that one, kind of hanging on the outside receiver. Yeah. And then the second he saw his eyes drift to the seam route, he was like, yep, that'll be mine now. And he went and took it.
Nice to see him get that interception. Nice to see a shutout performance by our defense. We're going to be talking about it throughout the week, and I can't wait because Clinton always says if we get a shutout, we go 6 ins on 3 in, 3 out. Sure, there were some things that we could probably pick nits with in 3 in, 3 out, but we're going to have a celebratory performance, I'm guessing, unless Clinton just decides to change the rules on us again.
I mean, it is his prerogative, and it's something that he would do. But it'd be difficult for me to not put an out on some of the pass pro stuff. But, hey, if we're going to gloss over it with a 26-0 victory, then so be it. 6 ins. Ins for everyone.
Ins for everyone. And Mike Woodworth coming in saying, lineman that crowned Job in the face should have been ejected. Yeah, I'd like Peely standing up for him. He ended up getting the penalty. And yeah, that was disappointing that Job had to come off the field after that. Nate Schutz coming in, a member for 2 months, saying, I mean, he doesn't even know the rules.
Probably Greg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy smokes, just under that, too. Look at this.
Look at that. Navajo Egg Rolls is coming in with 5 gifted Seahawkers podcast memberships. Appreciate that to Navajo Egg Rolls. If you happen to get a Seahawkers podcast membership, you now have access to all the little emojis in chat. You get access whenever we release a show early for members. So that's a nice little bonus. And a big thanks to Navajo Egg Rolls coming in and helping out folks in chat that way.
Oh, for sure. That's amazing, man. I love that stuff, that pay it forward kind of thing. That really does just fill up the Hawker Cup. Love that.
No, Nate's talking about Clinton and 3 in, 3 out. He doesn't know the rules. And so that was a shot at Clinton, not Greg Olson.
All right. Well, he deserves it too. We'll see. We'll see what he does. It's his prerogative. It's his show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. No doubt about it. It's going to be fun celebrating just a dominant shutout by this defense.
Yeah, we can be happy, as DJ Nichols is saying. Imagine being Jerry Jones watching DeMarcus Lawrence perform like he has been. To let that man walk is insane to me, but we also let Bobby walk, so nobody's perfect. Yeah, DeMarcus, we'll close the show there, Adam. I mean, unless we have more great comments coming in, but DeMarcus Lawrence, great day by him, great day by Ernest Jones as well, great day by our defense, a fun game. I want to see D-Law close out this special season with the Seahawks. Let's get him some playoff wins, something that he just was not used to in Dallas.
I think he earned it so far this year. He was my most exciting free agent this offseason, and this has exceeded my expectations. I thought we'd get about 75% of this, but he's just playing out of his mind, and it just makes it real tough for Hall and Mafe to see reps right now because of the level he's playing it at. And I love that we're just rubbing that in Jerry Jones's face too. Like that brings me some holiday cheer. No doubt about it.
Thanks to Navajo Egg Rolls. He says, thank you, Seattle defense and Jason Myers, winning my fantasy week for me. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Thanks to Nate Schutz, who's been a member for 2 months. A big thanks to JetHawk5150, who came in with the Super Chat donation. Gambling Goat, a member for 4 months. Reyes USMC with the Super Chat coming in. And Yokai Hawk, as well as Gambling Goat. And I feel like I'm missing one, too. We had Godzilla Hawk. We had Ryan911, our live executive producer. A big thanks to everyone who came in throughout the show. And thanks to those of you who showed up live. Be sure and give us a like, give us a subscribe. And Adam, be sure that you're back in here later this week because we're going to be talking more Seahawks football.
Oh, we will. Can't wait for it. Just thank you to Mike McDonald, Aiden Dirty, that entire defense for capping off a glorious Sunday here and sending the Minnesota Vikings on down the road with a big fat 0. See you later. Have yourself a day. Yeah.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.